Hey, it's Friday, and this is Dr. Nina, and welcome to You, Your Body, and Your Health. I am so glad that you're here. I hope you're having a wonderful holiday season. We're in the midst of it. It's crunch time. It's almost Christmas. These parties are picking up. This dessert is picking up. So it's getting real. It's becoming real, and so is the struggle. So I thought that this show would be a good time to kind of inhale, everything that we've been talking about over the course of the last 12 weeks or 12 plus weeks and go ahead and just take a Q&A, answer some of the questions I get from you all. I actually did not come here with a full list of questions or excuse me, a full list of answers because the questions they're pretty much related. And I did get a lot of questions on our last show, which was focused on habits. So I thought that I'd jump into some of those questions or some of those topics, sum it up, not necessarily answer direct questions, but really sum it up just to kick off the show in order to open the floor for you all to bring in your questions. So, do have a couple of announcements to make before we get started. But before I do, go ahead and tell me where you're tuning in from. And tell me what is your question? Tune in over the course. Honestly, the floor is open. So tell me where you're tuning in from and kind of ask me a preliminary question. Let's go ahead and get the ball rolling here. As you all know, You, Your Body, and Your Health is a show that's focused on health span. And health span is the number of years within our lifespan that we are healthy. So I am all about helping you determine what's best for you, your body, and your health, hence this Q&A. But with that being said, before I even get started, I do want to start, and I'll say it at the end for the folks that are just coming in, but I'll say it at the end too. But I will be taking an extended break from You, Your Body, and Your Health. Nothing wrong. As a matter of fact, everything is right. As you all know, I am founder of the blog and brand That Salad Lady, and That Salad Lady is really, really taking off. So the beautiful thing is that I will be around. We are putting together a series of courses for healthy living and healthy eating that are scheduled to be launched in January. So I have to dedicate a lot of time to making sure everything is going well with the brand and with the courses and everything so that honestly, we can make it better for people to build their bowls and their lives full of wellness. And so I'm going to have to take a little hiatus in order to, make sure everything is all balanced out. But again, I will be around. I am still a friend of Black doctors. I'm still here between meal prep episodes and appearances here and there. I will be around, but I will be taking somewhat of a break for a few months. In order to just make sure everything is going. But I do want to encourage you while I'm on that break to stay tuned or tune in to anything That Salad Lady related from thatsaladlady.com to That Salad Lady on social media channels, to That Salad Lady everywhere, because you will be seeing a lot of That Salad Lady in the midst of this. So that is enough about me. Go ahead and put those questions in. But I do, as those questions come in, and hi, Wanda. Hi, Patricia. Hi, Kathy. Good morning, everybody. Happy Friday. As those questions come in, I do want to circle back to last week's conversation. It's like, okay, come in with some more news. It's the habit. I want to talk about it because this is the time for change. And as I said in the last episode, over 90% of us fail, and I say fail. I hate to use words like that, but we do at our New Year's resolutions because we are not developing the habits that are necessary to help us keep, basically stay in line with a plan for achieving our New Year's resolution. So I really want to focus on that topic habits as we jump into this Q&A. So I'm going to bring up those figures that I didn't have last week. I want to bring up the first one because it's really, really focused on helping you better understand the habits in general. And again, for those of you who are just coming in, this is a Q&A show. So don't be afraid or don't be shy about coming in and asking questions right away. This is your show. This is your time today. So make sure you post a question in the comment section. I will make sure I get to that. Let's dive in and talk about habit loops again. Again, that figure, all my little sexy figures that I didn't get up last time around. We'll start off with those because I'm sure that the nice thing about habits is that habits are something that apply to everything, not just healthy eating, not just healthy living, but even our day-to-day lives. So just to reiterate those habit loops, and again, a lot of the information about habit loops you can find in Charles Duhigg's book, Power of Habit. I talked about that a little bit. But I'm summarizing a concept that's not just his necessarily. It's in the research setting altogether. The habits. So from everything we choose to eat, from the things we eat, the things we snack on, the behaviors we have, about 40 to 45% of these things we decide to do, as I said before, are actually habits. And so I want to talk about, just summarize that loop that I talked about. So the cue, you have something that triggers a habit. That's kind of what the cue is. And that cue puts our brains in autopilot. So this probably sounds repetitive a little bit if you all were here, but I want you to really, really get it, because in order to understand how to change a habit, you need to understand what a habit loop is. So in the case of a cue would be like, I went to the mall, and we talked about an example similar to this, and I saw Auntie Anne's, or any other goodie place that's situated in the mall. Because your brain is kind of an autopilot from getting those constant triggers, your routine, which is what you do, is generally, I'm going to get a pretzel. And the brain really decided to get a pretzel from Auntie Anne's because it remembers, you know what? I went to the mall and I got a pretzel, and that pretzel was really, really good. And that was the reward. So what you got a really, really tasty pretzel. It made your brain happy. All those feel-good hormones were going crazy. And essentially a habit loop was formed because your body said, you know what? This loop is worth remembering. So whenever you go to the mall, and you can almost smell, unfortunately, many of us can smell that Auntie Anne's when we walk in the mall. Would you agree? I don't eat those pretzels. I don't get it. But I know a lot of people, you walk in that mall, you smell that pretzel, you're like, Auntie Anne's. I mean, and you can't even start shopping, especially around the holiday season, until you get your pretzel. That's your brain in autopilot. That's a habit loop. And then you get that pretzel, and then you're happy again. And then it just continues. Now, if you take this, it can apply to any situation that had anything in your life that is a habit. You may find that you're at work, and at lunchtime, the clock rings 12, and you go to that vending machine and get a candy bar, and the candy bar is good. And you decide that's worth remembering. So when I'm at work, trigger, 12 o'clock hits, cue, I'm going to go into the vending machine. That's what I do. That's the routine. And then I'm going to get a candy bar. In my case, well, it was only when I was pregnant, but I did have a little Twix habit like that. And the reward is that thing tastes good. And then you keep doing it, enjoying it. So let me know if you understand what I'm saying. Go ahead and put a comment up, or a ding ding, or a clap or something, and let me know if you understand those habit loops, because I really want you to get that habit loop, because when you're trying to break habits, you want to be able to understand how they're formed in the first place. Now, let me take a pause here and go to Wanda's question. I have bronchitis and haven't been able to do weekly water aerobics, and I actually felt terrible afterwards. Why do I think it's getting worse? Is that what we're saying? Being able to do weekly, huh? You know what? I can't. That's a loaded question, Wanda. And I don't know if I can summarize it, why it possibly did get worse based on this, but I'll tell you, I'll take a little stab at it. Our bodies generally have to adapt, and that includes everything. That includes our lungs, that includes any of our organs. It has to adapt to a stimulus. Now, you said you haven't been able to do your weekly water aerobics, so I'm assuming that it's a weekly class that you take all the time. It could be a number of factors, given that it's linked to the lungs. It could be things happening in the environment. It can be something that your body is fighting. And the lungs are a very sensitive organ to the environment. So I can't really say that that's it, but I can say that it's a possibility. And I wouldn't be able to really, I wouldn't be able to really pinpoint it, but I hope that helps. Does that help a little bit? Because I don't know, based on that, I think it could be a combination of multiple things if your body is already used to it, because any shock to the organs of the system, specifically the lungs, could possibly do that. So I could probably answer that. Okay, good. I got it. Okay, I'm just making sure. I don't want to give you a wrong answer. You know what I mean? All right. So let's see. I am going to jump back into this habit loop since I'm not getting any more questions, I don't think, oh, I got a question. Is there a difference between the types of sugar? Where did that question come from? How did I miss that? I can answer that really quick. So, is there a difference between the types of sugars? The answer is yes. I'm going to say yes and no. So, this is why I'm going to say kind of yes and no. If we're talking about sugars, like sugars that come from natural sources, like honey and maple syrup, molasses, that sort of thing, and we're talking about table sugars like general white sugar, the colory brown sugar, uh, and high fructose corn syrup, it could be. I'm not saying that yes, it is a difference between the sugars themselves because some of them house nutrients that actually negate some of the potential blood sugar increasing or glucose increasing effects of sugar. So, for that reason, yes, it's a difference. But I'll say this, when it comes to using them as you would use sugar, so you're going to use sugar in a cake, you're going to use sugar in a beverage, you no. Your body is still going to have spikes if you eat cake and even if it's made with all natural sugars. So in that case, I that's one of those questions that I always emphasize that in this sense that sugar is sugar, because if we don't think that way, then you'll find yourself saying, oh, I'm eating this cake because it's from Whole Foods and I know it's made with all natural sugars, versus this cake that's made with more processed sugars, or a candy that's made with high fructose corn syrup versus, real cane sugar. So for that, I have to say, as far as the way the sugar affects the body when it's made for empty calorie products, no, there's not a difference. But as far as honey, molasses, these things of digesting and absorbing a little slower because they contain more nutrients, absolutely, yes, that sugar is better. So I hope that answers the question there. Um, are we talking about plantar fasciitis, Elaine? Go ahead and clarify that for me. I want to make sure I answer the right question. I'm going to get to Nadine's question too. I was diagnosed with fibroids and had them shrunk. It feels as if they are back and I'm experiencing pain in my lower right abdomen. I am discharging. Okay. I have read Black women are more susceptible to fibroids. Yes. I don't know. Nadine, the answer is no. I don't know if you know, but I also suffered from I struggled with fibroids as well. I had a myomectomy to have them removed. They complicated pregnancies. They were linked to many miscarriages. The answer to the question is yes. Black women have a higher diagnosis of fibroids, but why is the mystery question of the day? And again, science is not giving us a real answer, but I did run into some research. I actually wrote a full article on that, and it was well received. But so we have a lot of factors in our lives as Black women that other races, of course, don't have. One of them being stress levels and adaptation to stress. And I've actually ran into research that was linking the Black woman's what do we call it? We call it the super, what is it? The superwoman syndrome that we have as Black women. I saw ran into a few studies that actually link that to the occurrence of fibroids. Now, again, we can't necessarily say that this is true. Information is all over the place, but I will tell you this. One of the ways that I was able to control my fibroids personally, and what way that I've actually advised for a lot of women in general who have them, women with melanin, not just Black women, is to engage in exercises that kind of temper or balance out our hormones. And believe it or not, weight training is one of those exercises. It's one of the exercises that we commonly ignore, but it's also one of the exercises that has actually been proven pretty beneficial for help managing, for help keeping the hormonal system intact in a way that supports the management of fibroids. So I hope that helps. And as mentioned right here in the queue, there's a show on specifically on fibroids on December 20th that you can pay attention to. It's a panel of experts and probably have way more expertise. I know they have way more expertise than me in my experience with fibroids. So I definitely encourage you to tune into that. The answer to the can you have too much natural sugar, Karen? Absolutely, yes. Too much of anything is a good thing, whether it's natural or unnatural. And I have to emphasize that because a lot of people, when it comes to the natural sugar versus processed sugar debate, they really feel like because something is made with natural sugars that it's somehow better. There's a certain smoothie shop. I'm not going to put them on blast, but there's a certain smoothie shop that has made millions and millions of dollars putting all natural sugars on these sugar bomb smoothies and saying that they're health foods. No matter what the sugar comes from, even if it comes from fruit sugar, too much of anything is a problem. Sugar is sugar in that sense. All right. Okay. Now, for the for the plantar fasciitis, I will tell you now. I'm going to put my clinical massage therapist hat on, Elaine. I'm also a clinical massage therapist by training. I don't practice anymore, but that is definitely a therapy that I recommend for plantar fasciitis. During my years of practice, shameless plug, I was actually very good at having that. Basically treating the feet to the point that it was a manageable situation. There are a lot of different exercises I encourage you to consider for that, but I would recommend speaking with a manual therapist of some sort. If not a physical therapist, a massage therapist or a physiotherapist, depending on where you're from, to help you get the exercises that are right for you, because there is a treatment plan for managing that. But in the interim, definitely see if you can get a person that's skilled in treating plantar fasciitis from a massage therapy standpoint. And I guarantee you'll see the difference. I can almost guarantee you, if they're any good, you can see the difference with that. So I hope that helps there. Where are we with questions? Did I get them all? And I know it's painful. So, I mean, you definitely have my sympathy there and empathy, because I know that it's painful with that. All right. I'm going to switch back to another visual because I'm jumping in and out of this habits question in between, or jumping out of this in and out of this habits topic. And I'm not having a successful aging segment today. So you got me for time. No problem, Elaine. Thanks for the question. Karen, you're on fire. Is there a home remedy for hot flashes? I'm not even going to put anything on top of that because I do not have an answer to that question. If I had an answer to that question, I would probably get a Nobel Prize awarded to me by women. I do not have an answer to the question of hot flashes. Hey, I have no questions. All I can say is I'm about to be there soon, and I'm not looking forward to it. I'm sorry, I cannot be of any other assistance with that hot flashes one, because I know so many people in my circle that are going through them, and I can't think of a home remedy to give you right now. Honestly, something that's research back that I can stand behind. I'm sorry about that. I can't answer all the questions, unfortunately. But thank you for that one, and I'm sorry I feel your pain. All right, can I get the figure number 2? We're going to talk about this habits thing while I get more questions in here. I'm sorry, Karen. um, and I'm not even laughing. I'm that's a laugh like, oh my gosh, laugh, because I totally get it. I talked about within that small changes leading to big gains from the standpoint of habits, right? One of the things with that, this is probably the best analogy I can give. Now you're probably looking at this natural. We only talk. It's a granola bar, and granola bars are often viewed as the healthiest, a healthy snack, right? I'm coming as the bearer of bad news. This is not a healthy snack, and it's never been. I don't know where the notion of a granola bar being a healthy snack came from when they started kind of in the 70s making these things, but is it better than Doritos? I mean, maybe, depending on what it's made from, but again, it's not necessarily the healthiest snack. And this is again where we come into that sugar question. Well, it's made from all natural sugar, so therefore it's healthy, but it's going to have that same effect. So when I talk about that habit loop, right, remember I talked about that cue and routine. Well, let's say that you had a cue to go and get a granola bar, or to eat a granola bar for breakfast. Now, I know a lot of people who go in for work. I've had a lot of clients, this was their routine: eat a granola bar with some coffee and then go and start their work day. So this is actually a real life situation. I had a client I work with, that was her routine. She got this particular granola bar and she had it with her coffee every day, every day. And I was trying to get her to really monitor the way she ate carbohydrates, not eliminate them, but just be more mindful of the whole nutritional value of them. So the first step was realizing that she was stuck in a habit loop. She needed to have something, some bar, some snack, something that she can continue to eat and crunch on. In her words, it kept her busy in the morning. And as a former smoker she said it kept her mouth moving. So I can totally understand that. So what I did was I first transitioned her to doing a kind bar. It's a better bar than a granola bar because it's having where you're getting some real whole nuts in there, and you're getting a little chocolate to give that sweetness in there in this case. So we had her transition to this kind bar. And plus, she was used to buying these things in bulk in a box. You see how deep these habits get. She was used to buying these things in bulk in a box. So we went to that. So eventually, when I got her, on the idea of eating nuts and, kind of getting it in, I was trying to get her in a situation where she ate more whole foods. So over time, it took about 6 months to be exact. We got her to the point where instead of getting the granola bar or the kind bar, she made her own trail mix at home. It had a flavor that was very similar to kind bar. So we had successfully replaced a habit. We didn't replace the habit. We just changed the routine. So she still wanted that thing that she can grab, but we just made it a whole food thing for her to grab. Is this a good example of telling you kind of how you can interrupt that? Because as a healthy living coach, that's what I do. I help others make better lifestyle choices, largely by inserting new routines into old habits. That was her habit. And we basically went from the old packaged granola bar to whole nuts and dried berries and seeds. And it was a success. And there was some weight loss just from doing it, just from changing that habit and incorporating more whole foods. So I had to get that example out there because I wanted you to see, how that habit loop worked and how you could, interrupt it. Now, Ty, what are we asking about Skinny Pop? Are we asking, is it a good food in the Q&A? I want to answer that question because to answer your question, yeah. If we're asking, is it a good food? I can tell you, yeah, it's a healthier food to replace. But I'm going to tell you this. As a personal fan of fresh air pop popcorn, I happen to think Skinny Pop is a nice runner up. But I will say, anything in excess is a problem. There is something called a serving size and a portion size, and we talked about those before, and they matter. If you take Skinny Pop and you're eating bags and bags and bags of the stuff, remember, carbohydrates, and that is a carbohydrate, and it's considered a whole grain carbohydrate, which is a good carbohydrate. And it happens to be one with minimal additives. It has a good little salt in it, and it's made with a quality oil. But if you eat, I think that serving size for Skinny Pop is about 3 cups, if I'm not mistaken. I think it's about 3 cups. If you're eating, 10 cups of that stuff and 15 cups of that stuff, I've seen people really overdo it with it just because it has a healthy label on it, right? If you overdo it, it's still a problem. You definitely, a whole grain is a healthy food. I just looked at your comment. Yeah, it's real easy to do. That stuff is good. I have to stop buying it. It's too easy to eat. That's one of the reasons I like the popcorn, freshly air popcorn, because you have to go through the effort, get the air popper, grab the popcorn, get it popped, and then by the time you're done, you don't even want to eat that much. So, I mean, that's kind of one of those habit loop things that I'm talking about. So, yes, it's good for you, but if you're eating bowlfuls of it or eating whole bags, like I see some people at the grocery store, they get 5 and 6 bags of that stuff. Yeah, you might be taking it and making it little. You may be making that Skinny Pop fatty pop if you're doing that. So, I hope I answered that question. But again, tell me from the last thing, that's actually a good analogy with the habit loops kind of thing I'm talking about, because it's a habit, right? And you might go from doing Skinny Pop in those convenient bags to air popped or whatever, just whatever works for you. That's what I'm all about. I'm going to give another visual. I have 5 minutes left here. And for those of you who just joined, I'll make the announcement again in between. This will be my last show for a while. I'm taking a bit of a break, a little sabbatical. Nothing bad, everything good. That Salad Lady brand is growing, and I kind of have to take the time to absorb it. This is all about a self-care thing. Nina has to do, or Nina / that Salad Lady, or I have to do what's kind of good for me, keep myself intact so I can keep delivering the good news. And so because of that, I have to take some time and manage the brand, that Salad Lady. But again, if you have not followed us on all of the social media channels, that Salad Lady on Instagram, especially TikTok, especially TikTok, if you're on there, and Facebook, Instagram, etc., Pinterest. Definitely do that, and be sure to subscribe to that saladlady.com, because I will actually have a series of healthy living courses. It's called a Build Your Bowl series, and it's going to be a series of healthy living courses. There's one specific coming out for intermittent fasting, as a lot of people have expressed interest in that. And these are four series courses where you can actually get everything you need. My goal in putting together these courses is for it to be the last course you ever purchase, because it's all about helping you do what's best for you, your body, and your health. Even though it's a Build Your Bowl course, that's not necessarily call you your body and your health, but the idea is still the same. So if you don't see me next Friday, you'll know why. Hopefully they run some reruns of these shows for those of you who join in late, but we'll see. We'll talk about that with the producers last. Let me throw one last figure up. That's these Keystone habits. So I want to leave you with this as we do go into these questions. Girl, you better get on TikTok and watch that salad lady on TikTok, and just set your For You page to TikTok. I'm clowning Ty. But yes, please do. I look forward to seeing you on Instagram either way. Sorry about that. Okay. So simple Keystone habits that stick. This is, if I'm going to take a sabbatical, this is definitely the one I want to leave you with, right? Simple Keystone habits that stick. These are 7 things. These are not rules that you have to follow. These are rules that, excuse me, I'm calling them rules. These are not rules that you have to follow. These are kind of habits that stick, simple things that you can do that may stick. And I say this because forming Keystone habits, it's not a one size fits all approach to it. But when it comes to forming Keystone habits, there's evidence to show that if developing 1, 2, 3, 4 of these habits, all of them maybe, if you can actually, it's almost intrinsically going to change the way you live. So simple things like eating more fiber. And notice, I always emphasize not really focusing on the things you can't do, but focusing on the things you can do. So if you notice, there's nothing on here about eliminating carbs, but there is something on here about eating more fiber, because we know that if you eat more fiber, you'll automatically eliminate poor quality carbs, because poor quality carbs don't have a lot of it. And I don't mean the added stuff that they put on boxes and packages to make you buy it, but I mean those natural sources of fiber, like our vegetables, fruits, our legumes, and our whole grain foods. So focus on doing that, getting more protein and taking in good fats, because we know that if you take in more protein and take in more quality fats, you'll almost automatically eat less, because these foods have appetite suppressing effects. So you'll eat less, not in a way of dieting, but you're less likely to overeat in a way that's hazardous, because you are getting that protein and that fat and that fiber. And eating enough food is a big one. As you go into the new year and you even consider a diet, know that you will not have any success if you're not eating enough food. So that may look crazy as a Keystone habit, but it's true. A lot of people don't eat enough to drive success and successful outcomes. Drinking more water, same thing. Many of the side effects or the effects of dehydration, they mimic hunger. So if sometimes you're not even hungry, sometimes you're just thirsty. So focusing on getting at least 8 glasses of water, 8-ounce glasses of water a day, and at the very least, make sure your urine is very pale yellow or white or clear, excuse me. Sitting less and moving more. Notice I didn't say getting on a treadmill for an hour or, running outdoors. Just sitting less and moving more. We did a whole episode on this as far as talking about how it's beneficial for keeping your glucose levels moving. And most important, getting enough sleep, because honestly, you could do all of this. You can do all of this, every Keystone habit on this list. And if you're not resting enough, your cortisol levels are going up. That's the stress hormone. So you're stressing, and everything else kind of falls apart from there. So I hope this gives you an idea of what I mean, and really think about these Keystone habits for the time that we're not together, and think about 2 or 3 that you can implement today. Go ahead and put in the comments box, how many will you implement this week, this coming week, starting today? How many of those Keystone habits do you think you can implement or incorporate into your life? 2, 3, 4. Give me a number in the comments box. And as always, because we're coming to a close, I'm waiting on those numbers though, folks. Can I get those numbers in the comments box of how many? I'm holding you to that, because even though I'm leaving, this comment section will stay for a little while. And I want to see those numbers of how many habits, Keystone habits, you can commit to starting now. Starting now. And I love it. At least 4. I got a 4 here. Keep going. And as always, again, this has been a pleasure. It's been a wonderful 12 plus weeks. And I will be back. Definitely stay tuned and keep watching blackdoctor.org for my little midget appearances here and there until I get back, and hopefully within the next few months. And as always, again, follow me on those social media channels. We keep this conversation going. Be inspired to visit thatsaladlady.com, where we are all about whole food nutrition for whole life wellness, so you can build your bowl and your life. And it has been a pleasure once again. Thank you for joining me. Starting slow, Karen. You get that 3 going. Loretta, congrats on the 4. And I'm going to shoot for adding a few more to my list. Because I do all those as best I can, but I'm going to shoot for adding a few more to my list. It has been a pleasure, folks. And until next time, have happy holidays, Merry Christmas, happy everything, New Year, and do it this holiday season. It is not difficult. As you go into the new year, think about those Keystone habits. Think about keeping those habits. Habits before resolutions. Habits before resolutions. And I will leave you with that. Take care.